Well, hi there. My name's Andy Greider, and this is Unique This Week, a production of Uniqueness is Power, a business growth solution show. We are so happy to be able to bring you amazing guests that are doing unique things, hence the name Unique This Week. Now, most of us know a photographer, but how many of us have one in our pocket? Today's guest, Marlana Semenza, is not only innovative and creative, but she's the type of person who never lets anything get in her way, whether that's distance or travel restrictions or anything else. She works with people around the world, and she's created a very unique, very powerful method of producing social media photography, something more and more of us need in a either one-off or a monthly fashion. So thanks for being here, Marlana. It is so awesome to have you around.
Thank you so much, Andy. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, likewise. I really appreciate you. So let's talk about this incredible concept, photographer in your pocket. How did this come about?
Well, honestly, my friend Claire at the beginning of COVID saw people doing virtual photography online. And so we tried it on each other and, kind of messed around with it a little bit. But what these people were doing is they were kind of doing it for fun. And I thought, fun, this is a business model. How can I get better at it? So I started to really hone in on it and hone in on the different techniques and also how to edit it so it would be a little bit better, all those kinds of things. And then I stumbled upon an app that gives me an even better quality of photos. So that's where we are right now. So it's been a process.
So how does it work? I mean, what platforms does it work on? What's needed on the other side? Things like that.
Well, anytime that I work with anybody, I send them out a questionnaire. And what that questionnaire does is it kind of lets me know more about you, who we're speaking to as your audience, what makes you unique, all those kinds of things. But at the bottom, I also want to know, what equipment do you have access to? Do you have access to a tripod? Do you have access to lights? Do any of those things? Not that that's restrictive, but it just lets me know what my options are. My favorite option is something that I refer to as a VAT, which is a voice activated tripod. And all that is another human being that can go up when I tell them, left when I tell them, down when I tell them, in and out, those kinds of things. What the app does is I have you download the app and it will give you a number. That number I need to connect. It works with either Android or iPhone, doesn't matter. But what it does is it allows me to connect through your phone, and then I take control of the camera of your phone. So I can, depending on what model and make your phone is, will give me different options. The newer iPhones allow me to zoom in and out and all those kinds of things. So I can get a whole bunch of different angles and whatnot for you.
Well, I was going to say, and that's one of the things that I've already seen in some of the pictures, and we'll show some of them here instead of our smiling faces. We'll put a couple up here in a few minutes or as we go along that are, to me, really, they capture a spirit and a angle or two, or a background or two, or a setting or two in depth and things like that you just don't normally get, first of all, out of a cell phone. And secondly, most photographers even miss that when they're right there with their own equipment. So how are you positioned to do these things? What is it you're looking for? And is there an ideal setting for somebody to be in?
The more light I have, the better. It just, with any cell phone, I'm sure you've seen, if you take your own cell phone photos, that the more light you have, usually the better quality of image, because it gets a little sharper and the camera just has more to grab onto. So that's always a plus. Other than that, it's what I see. I don't really know how to explain how I see or what I see. Because it's inherent to me. So that's why if I have another person that can help, it avoids me having to say to you, okay, get out of the scene now, move the tripod here, there, whatever. I can just have that other person go where I want them to go.
Yeah, VAT sounds like a really nice installment model to have along with the other side of this, for sure. So since we're talking about that side of things, so this is something somebody could have done monthly for social media shots. Somebody who's an influencer, somebody who's an up and coming brand. You help them in other ways, and we'll get to that in a minute. But what does it typically cost for a session?
For a monthly retainer, it'll cost you less than $300.
Wow. And you get how many shots?
20.
So you've got enough to get you through a whole month without a problem of putting stuff out there on social media.
Mm-hmm. And now keep in mind, because of the nature of what this is, these images are only really going to be quality for social media. So if you're looking for anything else, that's not what this is. This is strictly your social media content.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, somebody could take these and put them in any size on a website or something like that, but they're not going to be good for printing, is what you're essentially saying.
Correct. Correct. But anything virtually, these will work.
Great. So now let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit. We've covered photographer in your pocket, but there's so much about you that I think is unique in and of itself. And it applies here in the realm of the show, but it also gives people an idea of why they might want to use you and your talents and work with you to help explode their brand or help explode their position and where they're headed. You've got a lot of backstory, but there's one thing that's really key that I found to be really interesting is you actually have a degree in photography. You're not somebody that fell into it sort of sideways like a lot of people do.
Well, I kind of fell into it only because I originally started off as a law major because I never knew that you could make a living in the arts. I don't know where I thought all the photos and magazines came from at that point in my life, but apparently I thought they fell out of the sky. But once I realized that, hey, wait, I can major in this, then yeah, I was all in.
Awesome. Now, you've also gone and done an awful lot of other things that help you with what you can do to help people take their brand to a whole new level. It's rare for me to say, photographer who can help explode your brand, because while you can do some of that visually, you also have other background. What else have you done that got you to the point where you're at now?
My first job out of college was with the World Wrestling Federation, and I went all over the country with them. So that kind of teaches you to develop personas and understand personas and just see things a little bit differently, tell a story. Right. Then from there, I also worked for a cartooning and animation company, which teaches you just to think out of the box. You can make your own box. You can make it anything you want it to be. And then fast forward again, I did set design and styling and interior design. And I worked for several companies. A lot of advertising was involved in that. And I also did location scouting. So there's a lot that goes into behind what I do because it just forces me to see it differently and bring all these elements.
I was going to say, you have a lot of different types of background, which has made you a much, much more powerful person behind the camera, as well as what you do once you have what you've captured, and understanding somebody's brand story and understanding how to take it places. I've watched what you've done with a lot of different people over the time we've known each other, and I've gone back and looked at things you've done before that. In listening to both of your series that you've put together, currently Iconic Image, your Iconic Image. There's so much good that you're putting out there in addition to helping people with their brand. Talk a little bit about what that does for you as far as how it helps you relate and learn from other folks.
Well, with the show Your Iconic Image, that's the process that I created. That's what it's called, Your Iconic Image. So what the show does is it gives tips and information and inspiration from people in other industries, because what I do is I communicate your brand. That's the lane I'm in, and I stay in my lane because I'm good in my lane. But there are other elements to it. So let's say it's about mindset, or it's about, I don't know, how to do something with your social media. Those aren't the things that I am knowledgeable in, but these other people are.
Very, very cool. And there are so many different guests that you've had that have been phenomenal, but perhaps I think there was one that really caught my eye. And I know there's an event coming up here in May. My listeners probably know this about me personally, but I'm a huge music nut. And especially when it comes to live music and famous rock icons are always fun to interview or be around. And run sound for a lot of years, but you're getting to do something really cool that you kind of had a guest that came on and then you worked your way into. Can you tell us a little bit about what's coming up here in the summer?
Well, the secret is, and it's not so much a secret, that when I was in college, one of the places that I wanted to work for was Rolling Stone. And I never was able to do that. Well, maybe a month or so ago, I had a gentleman by the name of David Fishoff on the show. And now David, if you looked him up, he was a big time concert promoter, but for the last 25 years, he has been doing this thing called Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. And what it is regular folks come and they are able to make music and perform live with their icons. Well, turns out that coming up in May, they are having the first ever women's only rock and roll fantasy camp. And so I was asked to come and tell the story of that.
So talk to me about who ends up at a all-female rock and roll fantasy camp. Who's involved there?
Well, every participant, whether it be the campers, the counselors, the pro musicians that are coming in as guests, even the crew, is all female. I don't know who the counselors are. I only know of Britt Lightning, who is part of the band Vixen, but some of the people that are coming in as celebrity guests are Melissa Etheridge and Nancy Wilson and Kathy Valentine and Orianthi.
Wow, that's a nice lineup. And when he put this together, the goal of the original camps was just to be able to be playing with your idols and the icons of rock. So how does someone qualify to get to go to that?
I believe you just pay your money, because I think people of all skill sets are welcome, and people of all ages, I believe, are welcome. So you can just go to rockcamp.com, and I think it gives you all the information you need.
That's pretty darn cool. Now, I know there's a lot of other things you've done that are intriguing, interesting, cool. And I hate to put you on the spot like this, but I'm going to. So tell me about, outside of that, who is the guest that's had the most impact on your career so far that you've had a chance to interview?
Wow. Impact on my career.
Or impact on this model, maybe. Of either photographer in your pocket or of the your iconic image.
There have been so many, because I love, and it depends on what you mean by impact, because I have gotten so much out of the episodes where they are about mindset. So there's one by Dr. Yeshai Barkadori on overcoming imposter syndrome. There's another one by Chuki Akobe about how to win the Super Bowl, because he actually did win the Super Bowl. And those deal with mindset. But as far as impacting my career and things like that, I would say definitely the one with David Fishoff, because of what has come out of it. And also, too, I would say the one with you, because it allowed me to deepen my relationship with you. Not that we had a bad relationship to begin with, because we have always been very, very connected. But I appreciate all of the things that you have done to also further what I do.
That's flattering, and I thank you very much. There are so many great guests that you have interviewed, both in the segments you did before this, and now your iconic image, the other piece that you're doing, and then plus what you've done with Photographer in Your Pocket and what you've done with your iconic image program. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Marlana, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
If you go to my website, which is really simple, it's marlanasemenza.com. Everything's on there. You can see my work in person. You can see my work virtually. You can also, all of the social media links are on there. You can contact me through the website. If you just want to get to just the page where it is virtual, you can also type in photographerinyourpocket.com and it will take you right to that page.
Awesome. This has been fantastic. Our listeners are very fortunate, because the guests are folks that really, really bring something new to the table and a whole new mindset and a way of looking at things. If you're somebody who's looking to explode your brand, take that next level, grow what you're doing, please reach out to Marlana. If you just need social media shots, and it's a basic thing, and you just need a round of them, reach out. If you need them on a retainer, reach out. There's all sorts of reasons to reach out, but one of the biggest ones is because Marlana has the background to get you where you need to go, wherever that might happen to be. Marlana, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, and thanks for being such a great guest.
Thank you so much, Andy. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. My name is Andy Grider. This has been another production of Uniqueness is Power. This is called Unique This Week. We're a business growth solution show where we're spotlighting and highlighting someone who is blue ocean, someone who's taken a whole new take on an idea out there. And as Marlana said at the beginning of this, it wasn't exactly a new idea because there were other people doing it for fun, but she turned around and made it something that she could do for profit with photographerinyourpocket.com. I encourage you to take the time to reach out if there is any photography need you have. I know most of us know a photographer, but very few of us know someone who's this multifaceted with this kind of eye and this ability to take your brand story and explode it through the roof. So again, thanks for everything. Really appreciate you, Marlana. Have a great day.
You too.